Hello, long time no see. Welcome back to my channel. I missed you guys. So as you can see, I moved and I have finally gotten myself together to film my Everything I Knit in 2024 video. If I can be vulnerable for a second, 2024 was a really weird year for me personally. I moved twice, which I wish I didn't have to do either time, but here we are. And now where I have ended up, I will hopefully not have to move again. 2024 was a really big year for me as far as finding joy in my hobbies, figuring out who I am, what my personal style is, and also, what I prioritize in friendships. My first move of the year in February was due to some pretty big and irreconcilable roommate issues that I was having with someone who I thought was my best friend. And, you know, coming back from that was really, really hard. And I really struggled to figure out how I could ever have healthy friendships again after someone who I thought I could trust treated me the way that she did. And I ended up living in really, really deep Brooklyn. I was really, really far from all of my friends and all of the things that I was doing previous to that move. And I found joy again in knitting. And I really think that that's part of why my 2024 knitting compilation is going to be so, so extensive. I had a lot of time just to myself and my knitting needles and my yarn stash. And once she joined my family, my cat Charlie. And I want to share all of the things that I made this year with you. And hopefully you can draw some inspiration and, tell me if you made anything else or if you're planning on making anything that I made this year. And then I will wrap it up with some of my plans for 2025 because, damn it, 2025 is going to be my year. It's a nice, perfect square at the end, 25. So let's make it great. I have a knitting project in my lap as if I'm going to work on it. I'm not. Okay. I'm going to do my little bug best to go in chronological order, but I don't remember when I finished everything. My Ravelry, I do not keep that updated. I will for like test knits and stuff, and I'll highlight whatever test knits I did. So the first sweater that I finished in 2024 is my Maurizio sweater by Joan Ho. Should I hang these? Show them the best to you. Everybody admire her. So this is the Maurizio sweater. It's by Joan Ho. I think the pattern is supposed to replicate the sweater that Adam Driver wears in House of Gucci. I knit this up in Barocco Ultra Alpaca. You're going to see a lot of Barocco Ultra Alpaca that I used through the beginning of the year because for some reason I stocked up on it a lot. Now that I'm going back through all my knits, it is one of my favorite yarns that I've used this year. I knit this for my boyfriend. He gets a lot of wear out of it. I'm really pleased that he gets a lot of wear out of it. And I wear it actually a decent amount too because it's a good oversized sweater for me. And I'm just really proud of it. I'm showing you the back right now. I did mess up the front cables and it's like one of those errors that I can't unsee, but by the time I realized I had made the mistake, I guess I'll just show you. I forgot to weave. It's hard to see, but I forgot to make the front crisscross all weave, and instead it's kind of more diagonal. But he doesn't mind it because it helps him know which way to put the sweater on, which side's the front. That's this sweater. It was a very ambitious project for me to take on for one of my first like really big knitting projects after transitioning out of crocheting and not knitting for a while. But listen, I love a chart. It's like a fun little game. You know how many rows before like the next cable row is, and every row is like one step closer to that fun little twisty row. And I feel that way about color work too, as you will see. And I'm really proud of it. And it's honestly, as impressive of a sweater as it is, it's really interesting to put this side by side with some of my later knits and really realize how much better I've gotten. Next is my Coraline sweater. I did a whole series on my Instagram, duplicate stitching stars, onto this sweater, and then never finished that series, never wore this as my Halloween costume, and it is not one of my favorite projects that I've made. It's just like a really generic raglan pattern that I found for free online. I knit this while I was knitting the Maurizio sweater, and it was kind of my treat, my brain off treat to work something in stockinette that kept my hands busy, especially because I was going through roommate drama at the time. truly going through some of these knits is bringing me back to the emotional space that I was in when that was happening. I knit this and with the goal of doing the duplicate stitching on the sweater, and then I proceeded to never do that until October when I was, trying to get this across the finish line for my Halloween costume that I never wore. I knit this in, I will go back and add it, it's Hobie Midnight something. I bought this yarn off of Facebook Marketplace or like some Facebook buy, sell, trade stash group. And it's really pretty. It has sparkles in it. And honestly, it photographs really well. I just don't love the fit. And I kind of wish I did some of the stars different. But we live and we learn. And that is the Coraline sweater. Next, I did some smaller projects, both in Barocco Ultra Alpaca. I got all this Barocco Ultra Alpaca from Annie's Knit and Needle on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. I love that store. I feel like they carry the best range, price-wise for yarns, and the Barocco Ultra Alpaca is only $15 a skein. Man, this is just great yarn. It's so soft. I really don't mind if it's against my bare skin. Usually I do wear a tank top under it. This is the Korshavn Slipover. I was struggling to do good bind offs, and this neck hole is pretty too tight. Maybe in the new year I'll go back and fix it. You can tell I'm wearing my Korshavn pullover. I actually knit this at the beginning of the year. This was a really quick knit. I really enjoyed it. It is bottom up. The basket weave stitch is really pretty. I love the double folded armholes, and the neck hole is also supposed to be double folded, and maybe that's something I'll go back and fix in the new year. Next is my Bonback hood. This is one of my most worn knits. It's so funny that my smallest projects are my most used projects. This is knit also in Barocco Ultra Alpaca. And I had this really pretty, sparkly white mohair something. It was either in my mom's stash that I pilfered out that she was trying to get rid of, or I found it in a bin at Goodwill. I have no context on what this yarn is, but in the ball it looked like a little snowball of sparkles. And if I hold this up close, I don't know, you can use your imagination and see the sparkles. I can see it in person. I love this hood. I usually just kind of wear it as a little necky, and then I'll like pull it up over my ears. In the colder months, it kind of turns everything into a hoodie, which I really like. I like when I have the little hood popped out over my jacket. This is one of my favorite projects I've made. I think in the future I will make it a little bit bigger, so that way it's a little bit more oversized when I pull it up, but this is one of my favorite things that I've made this year. So finally, if you follow me on Instagram, I'm sure you've been waiting for the ginger sweater. I wear this sweater all the time. This is my most worn, no, I don't think it's my most worn sweater, but it was, because it was my only knit sweater. Now I have my ginger sweater. I love her. She's perfect. I am still amazed that I made it. Dorothy of Adorable Knits is a genius. I love the way that this cable makes up the raglan and then the other cables grow out of it. I love this color. It looks so good. It goes with everything. It's also in Barocco Ultra Alpaca. It's so soft and slouchy, and I love that I can style it in a bunch of different ways. Yeah, I think this is always going to be an all-time knit for me. I'm just jonesing to do more cables in the near future, so expect to see that from me. But I love her. Everybody make some noise for the ginger sweater. So part of the reason why I was having trouble putting together all of these projects in chronological order is because I knit a lot of projects concurrently, and I work pretty cyclically, where like I'll finish the body of one thing and then I'll knit the sleeves on another thing, and then I'll start something else because I'm bored of the other two things that I'm working on. So that's how a lot of these sweaters kind of end up either getting to the finish line at the same time, or I don't really know when I finish them because I worked on all of them concurrently. And that is the case for my lemon sweater by Hip Knit Shop. I asked my parents for the kit for the lemon sweater for Christmas, and it showed up like the day after I left their house for Christmas because it was, shipping internationally, and I asked them late. So I didn't get this in my hands until March, and then I immediately cast on. I really had been wanting to use the yarn that was specified in a pattern for my first colorwork pattern. And I love the way that this worked up. I really love the super fluff. It's like shockingly light for being a very, very fuzzy yarn. I wore this all spring. It's such a perfect spring sweater. I did make it a little bit too cropped. I don't know how, because I followed the pattern, and I am looking forward to wearing her a little bit more now that I've unpacked. I think next actually is this Korshavn sweater. I cast it on while I was knitting the other two, the ginger sweater and the lemon sweater. And my first ever YouTube video on this channel is my I knit 3 sweaters in 3 months video featuring the ginger sweater, the lemon sweater, and this Korshavn sweater. This was my least favorite of those 3 knits. It was such a pain to work up. It's knit bottom up, and it just was like not the most mentally engaging. It has a nice little folded neckline. Oh, and double knit cuffs. I actually think that the construction of this sweater is delicious, and I would love to make it in a color that I like, because I don't know if I love the way that the variegated yarn takes away from the basket weave stitch texture of the knit. Also, the yarn that I used is Loops and Threads Facets. It was going all over Instagram at the time that I was working this up. It looks so much prettier than it is, because it's not a spun or plied yarn. It's kind of just like a string of fiber. And working it up was really, really frustrating, because it was like kind of coming apart the whole time. There were fluffies going everywhere. Working with my wooden needles, so the friction from the wooden needles was catching on the loose fibers of the unspun or unplied yarn, and it just was not a pleasant working experience. But one day I got up and I was like, I'm gonna finish these sleeves, and she's done. And honestly, I've been getting a lot of wear out of her. I did officially block her, and I think blocking helped like lock in the loose fibers. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this sweater. I think I have a friend that might want it, but kind of cute though. My Luna Tee. This is by Charissa Lamb. I knit this up in Little Fox fingering weight yarn. It's superwash merino. I got the yarn at the Brooklyn General Store during the Brooklyn, or it might have just been the full New York yarn crawl. And I think it's like the most beautiful color. The color is called Gossamer. I think that it looks beautiful knit up. This just was not the right fiber to knit up a tee that needs this much structure in. It just doesn't hold the structure of being a mock neck shirt that it should. It kind of like slouches as I wear it. I did not do a great job with the bind off, so that's also a little bit tight. And I did decide to modify it so that way it would be long sleeve, and it's just more my style. I just wish that I made it in the right fiber type to then be able to wear it like as a little turtleneck underneath other things if I wanted. So I knit the sleeves on double pointed needles. This was before I got really good at magic loop, and that was crazy girl behavior. I really wish I didn't use metal double pointed needles for slippery superwash merino sleeves. I do wear her though. I finally figured out how to style her. This was another May-ish project. This is the body of my porcelain sweater, which was supposed to be for my father. He is a man. He is much bigger than me, and this will fit me great. This is knit in a size medium. I used Cascade 220 that I picked up at the spinning room in Altamont, New York while I was visiting my parents upstate. And he picked out the colors, and I love the colors. I picked up knitting because I wanted to knit the porcelain sweater. I knew how to knit. I was just primarily crocheting, but then I was seeing all these knit garments on my Instagram that I was like, I would rather make and wear that. Like that fits in more with my personal style. So I got back into knitting, and with the goal of knitting the porcelain sweater, and my dad really liked the porcelain sweater, so I was like, great, I'll knit you one, and then I'll knit myself one, and then we can kind of match, and it'll be cute. An Instagram friend of mine is currently knitting the porcelain sweater as well, and she expressed similar frustrations with how the pattern is written and sized. I measured my dad, and I did a gauge swatch, and both lined up with what the pattern suggested. I think my plan is to buy either DK or like worsted weight yarn and knit a medium with the same stitches that it calls for, but like way off gauge. So that way it'll be properly oversized. Please, if you have knit a porcelain sweater, which I hope one of you has, I feel like one of you has. There's 1,800 of you on my subscribers list. So a lot of people have knit this pattern. Please tell me how your experience was making this, because it's killing me. And I have more fingering weight yarn that I'm so excited to knit up for my own porcelain sweater. I want to do like white and blue rather than blue and white. And I'm just so worried about the fit. Should I get mohair to make it larger? This pattern broke me. I'm so sad. So this is one of my 2 whips that kind of went to the graveyard. So that's one full table of work. Let's move on to what I guess would be summer makes. Hey, summer makes! In May, I ran my first half marathon. This is relevant because when I was at lunch with my parents following the half marathon, I got the emails, plural, that I was selected to test both the Collections Cowl by Meredith Wilmot and the Heartstopper tee by Jamie Dorfman. Look at the little hearts, the little lace hearts. These are my first test knits. I had done a couple test crochet amigurumi back in like 2021, 2022, when I was using my Instagram for that. I hadn't been able to really establish myself as a test knitter. I'm so grateful to Meredith for giving me the opportunity to test knit this cowl. I knit it up in some yellow fingering that I had on stash, and then I ran out and had to use a yellow Hobie cotton. So, you know, we'll just pretend that everything's the same color. And the background color is this colorway called Stained Glass. It's by CC's Wool that I bought at CC's Wool in Guilderland, New York. Once again, another upstate New York yarn purchase. Meredith is an entomologist, and she designs bug-inspired knitting patterns. She also released the Leaf Hopper sweater and the Ants in a Row raglan. She has 3 patterns out on Ravelry. You should totally go check them out. This Collections Cowl has a ton of other bug charts that you can choose from, and I think she's putting out new ones all the time. So this was just like a really fun way for me to piece together which bugs I thought looked the coolest. We got a Luna moth here. I think this guy above it is a cicada. I'll check myself, but it's probably like a great horned beetle. Got some ants. Got a big long guy in the middle. I forget. I think this guy's a wasp of some sort. Like they're actual taxonomy bugs. So I loved this knit, and I have been getting a little bit of wear out of it this winter. I also was a real beginner at color work. These charts are not for the faint of heart, so my floats are an absolute disaster. So let's not look at that, and we'll move on to my other test knit for Jamie, which is the Heartstopper tee. This is knit in like some Hobby Lobby brand. I think it's called Yarn Bee in the color Spa. I got this yarn off of a Facebook buy, sell, destash group. It's been kind of rolling around in my stash for a while, and I needed something that was in DK weight, and this says it was DK, but I think it's more like fingering or sport. Anyway, it came out as like a baby tee fit, which is not exactly, I think, what the pattern is prescribed for, but that's what you get when you knit it in a smaller size. It's a bottom-up raglan construction, so you start with the bottom lace here and knit up, and then do decreases along the raglan rather than starting at the neck and doing increases. The same thing goes for the sleeves. So you knit the lace of the sleeves and then you like attach them in the round. Here's another one that I kind of messed up and did the neckline too tight, so it is kind of a pain to get on and off. It's a nice I-cord edging finish, and maybe I will go back and fix it. Now I've learned some stretchy bind offs, so we don't have that issue anymore. Not me, not here. So yeah, those are my first 2 test knits of the year, and boy, there's a lot more. So it was hot, and I wanted to knit, but I didn't want to knit sweaters. So that's when I learned the joys of like true summer knits, which also means knitting on teeny tiny little needles. These are both Camisole number 5 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. This one is knit in bamboo pop. I thrifted one ball, found it in a Goodwill forever ago. So, of course, I was like, surely that will be enough for me to knit a full on shirt. And it's not. And I've been too lazy or too cheap to buy more bamboo pop in the proper color. I've kind of been wearing it with my little stitches on hold tassels hanging off. I think it's really pretty, and maybe I'll finish it. I did successfully thrift and have enough yarn for this other camisole number 5, which I immediately decided I needed to modify. This is Hobie 8-4 rainbow cotton. It's the fingering weight cotton. I found like 9 balls at a thrift store that I then decided to knit this top up in. I modified it so it would work out that I could have a cable right down the middle, the front middle, and did it on the back too. I got a lot of wear out of this summer. This is one of my favorite things I've made, and it has really inspired me to design a fun little summer tank top, which I'm really looking forward to doing all the math for and figuring out. At some point over the summer, I also did a test knit of the Persephone tee. I'll show you. I never took any good pictures of it. Look how beautiful the lace is on the sleeves. She has several different patterns using this lace. This is the Persephone tee. She has a Persephone wrap, Persephone cardigan, and a Persephone pullover, I think. This one, I don't know if it ever got released. It fits fine. I never did the I-cord edging along the neckline. And I did, of course, make it too cropped because then I got lazy working with tiny little needles. This is Knitting for All of Silk Something in the color Dusty Artichoke. I have some extra, and I am definitely going to use it for another summer knit, which I'm really excited about. Next, I knit 2 Tombow tees. This pattern is by Florence Miller. Love, 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 love a saddle shoulder. I love that construction. This is knit in Pearl Soho cotton. I got this yarn off of Facebook Marketplace. I got a big Facebook Marketplace haul. This was one of the yarns or 2 of the yarns that she sold me. So I knit this Tombow tee. I really love this. I didn't get as much wear out of it as I maybe should have. Do you ever finish projects and you're like, ugh, the process of making this was like kind of a pain. So now when I look at it, I just like hate the way this project came out. And then you go back and you dig it out of your finished projects box of shame and you're like, whoa, I love this. This is awesome. I took a bunch of pictures in it to do like a compilation of everything that I made in 2024. And I was like, I love this shirt. This came out really great. I knit it again in this lime green, brat green Kobasi. And I made it super, super cropped. And I just don't know where it is. Here's a picture. I also knit matching lime brat green socks to go with the brat tee. To also just hit on another brat summer thing that I made, I designed and crocheted a mesh cardigan for my friend Carson, and I named it the Carson cardigan after her. I got the Kobasi for that from Cleo's Yarn Shop. I actually forgot that I made this. It's actually something that I am really proud of. And I thought about designing and releasing a pattern, but then when I went to make a second sample, it didn't work out, and then I got distracted by other things that I wanted to do. Hello, Editing Fiona here. I forgot to include in my summer makes that I made 2 relaxagons that I then proceeded to give away. One of which is my most viral video on Instagram. I think I've gained like 2,000 followers from that video alone, which is crazy. So that's like a really special project to me, even though I never see it. But my friend Joe, who I made it for, wears it all the time. He's a part of my boyfriend's band, and he wears it to every gig, and it makes me feel so happy that he loves my work so much. So 2 other crochet things that just I totally neglected from the summer. This year also I got really into making socks. I bought the Chowgu mini needles to knit socks in the round, and boy did that change my life. And I got into colorwork socks, and I love knitting colorwork socks. That's also something I want to do more of in 2025. I have my eye on Stone Knit's book in a big way. I love all the stuff that she puts out. I also knit a pair of socks in my leftover stained glass from this project, and I just don't know where they are. Classic, I just moved. Those are 2 pairs of socks that I made over the summer, and then I also made the paintbrush socks, which are another one of my all-time most worn knits. And this design is by Lost Sock Knits. I saw this online and immediately had to make them, and also order the knit pick stroll, the proper colors to make these socks in. I knit a second pair larger for my boyfriend so we can match. And then, here we go, way out of chronological order. Stephanie of Lost Sock Knits messaged me and asked me if I would test and promote her paintbrush mitts that she designed the pattern for. I love these. They are so cute. I obviously had a bunch of knit pick stroll left over from making this, and I am continuously stocking up on more knit pick stroll because it is just like the best sock yarn that I've used. And I wear these all the time. They ride around in my jacket pockets, so that way I can just whip them out and put them on, and then I still have my fingers so I can text. Finally, for my summer knitting collection is my cloud blouse. This is knit up in Lana Grossa silk mohair, also sparkly. I got some balls of this from the clearance rack at a yarn store in Beacon, New York, and my Delulu ass was like, oh, I clearly have enough to make a full sweater in this dark color, right? And I didn't. I ran out. So I got scammed on Facebook when I was posting like, please, does anybody have this? Because this yarn is discontinued. There's someone on Ravelry, and she did get back to me, but I just ultimately had just knit this sleeve, finished it, and then put this into my knitwear box, finished projects box of shame, because I simply could not bear to look at this big mistake I made. And then I brought it back out, and I've been wearing it all winter. I think I sized up my needles because this is just knit with one strand of lace weight mohair. It's like sheer in a really, especially with the sparkles, in a really fun way. I really like this, and this is climbing the ranks of being another knit that I wear often. I kind of wear it always in the same way though, like a sim. So trying to come up with some new ways to style it. Table's empty again, so let's switch over to my fall and winter knits. So before we do fall and winter knits, this is also when I broke out my sewing machine again and I started actually sewing for real. I had seen the bow tie boxer shorts on Carissa Lim's Instagram page, and I love her style, and she had made them, and I was like, I have to make those. So my friend Natalie and I, who is also an absolute godsend from this year and has immensely made my life better, took me to Mood for the first time, and we each sewed a pair of the bow tie boxer shorts, which then I proceeded to never put the bows on. This is my first real attempt at sewing for real in 2024, and then I followed it up with 2 more pairs of boxer shorts. I made 2 more for 2 other friends that wanted them from Pinterest. Like the Scandi pants boxers were an in look for women kind of over the summer, like into the fall. And I was like, absolutely not. I am not going to give Amazon my money. They don't need any more money for me to wear boxers outside. I'm gonna make them. And I put my little tag on the front so that way they do look like proper boxers. You can also see how much better I got at construction and everything between the 3 different boxer shorts that I have here. Some of my other makes. And I can guarantee that you can expect a lot more sewing from me in 2025. Sewing is to break on my wrists from knitting. It's a lot faster. I also forgot to include that I sewed 4 vests for my Halloween costume, my group Halloween costume. We were a sexy barbershop quartet. I made a vlog of sewing all those videos on my YouTube channel, so you can watch it after this one. It could use some love. 2024 really helped me, find myself in the clothes that I want to wear and the clothes that I want to make. And you know what? If there's a pattern that exists for it, I know how to make it. That was kind of the theme through the end of the year, as well as, one of my goals for 2025. Let's talk knitting again. Wave sweater alert. Who is shocked that I have to talk about the wave sweater? This is like my most iconic sweater. I get like recognized about this sweater. This was my Rhinebeck sweater. I knit it in Claws Out Yarn Co. It's one of my Instagram friend Katie's indie yarn dyeing brand. And this was from her Yarns of the Commonwealth, like Ode to Boston collection. And I'm not a Boston girly, I'm a New York girly, but I am a Duncan girly. And I was like, I absolutely need the Duncan yarn. It is so beautiful. Actually, as I've said in a couple of my other podcasts, I was planning on knitting this all white and then using the Duncan yarn as the alternate color. But then I was like, that's just a waste. That's just a waste of the beautiful yarn. Imagine if it was all as floats on the inside. This is what it would look like. It's not as cool. This is awesome. This is beautiful. The contrast color is a worsted weight bread and butter every day in their color Soft Serve. I got that from the Brooklyn General Store. Both yarns are really heavy worsted weight yarns. So this sweater is really heavy and it's really hot. I think it'll be excellent now that it's winter and it's cold and I like can wear a light jacket with it because this is insulating. But man, for Rhinebeck, it was sweaty. You know, as I said in my Rhinebeck vlog, and I'm going to say again now, thank you to everyone who came up to me and complimented me on it. This was actually a real joy to make and wear and appreciate. Yeah, this is one of my favorite, like, more avant-garde makes of 2024. And of course, one of my most iconic. That's the wave sweater, my Rhinebeck sweater. Love her. Next, back on my test knitting grind. Another one of my more iconic sweaters, because this is an iconic design, is the Eclipse of Moth sweater by Clara Cecilia Knitwear. I literally followed Clara on Instagram because I saw her first sample of the sweater and I posted about it like a feral person on my story, like, when is this pattern going to come out? These are patterns that I can't wait to come out so that way I can make them. And when she posted the tester call and then accepted me, I was like, okay, excellent. I'm never going to shut up about this. This is going to be my whole personality. I'm going to be special and I'm going to buy you nice yarn for it. And this is knit in Plymouth Yarns, DK. This is black and butter. I needed to make something like really special. And I wear this all the time. I wear this to work. I wear this everywhere. This is all over my Instagram. This is, I think, my most worn sweater of 2024. It's just so versatile. It looks beautiful. It's a circular yoke, which I've actually never worked before, but it went by so quickly. What if I made this again? Is that crazy? And the construction is like geniusly simple. There's some German short rows to raise the back up a little bit, like classic. Yeah, I really love this sweater, and thank you, Clara, for having me test for you. I see that she's making a horse design next, and I'm like, oh girl, I gotta do that. I gotta make that one too. This is my second test knit of the fall. My other Whip Graveyard project. This is the Celia pullover by Sari Nordland. Oh my god, when Sari Nordland selected me to test knit for her, I was like feeling seen by a celebrity. Especially because this, now let's lean in real close. Let's get real up close and personal. This lace and cable combo design is wild. It's so delicate and intricate, and I really, really love the way that it looks. And I'm dying to finish this so I can wear it. Again, double folded collar, one of my weaknesses. I learned a new bind off on the sleeve. It's a little too tight, but when I was trolling r/craft snark, because when am I not, someone was like, oh, put on the bingo board whenever a knitting podcaster talks about a Sari Nordland pattern and the sleeves are too tight. And I was like, well, it's true. So if you're going to knit one of these, I guess just be prepared for that. If it is a nice fitted sleeve, I did do one extra decrease and repeat. So I'm like, maybe this wouldn't be as tight if I just followed the instructions. Sari only requires you to knit from the collar all the way down to where you separate for sleeves, knit one sleeve, and I did the collar because I felt like I had to. That's it, the test knitting requirements. You know, obviously the other sleeve is exactly the same as this one, and the body is just going to be like the same repeats all the way down. And I think that's just a really humane way to run a test knit. It was the same length as a regular sweater test knit, but only for a limited amount of the sweater that you had to do. So that's why this is on hold, and I didn't have to finish it, and I didn't get in trouble for not finishing it because I finished what I had to. And yeah, it really just doesn't like put so much pressure on your test knitters to finish a really, really intricate lace and cable design sweater in a fingering weight yarn in 4 weeks. I knit this in Cascade 220, the leftover Cascade 220 that I bought for my dad's porcelain sweater. I did end up having to get more, which I got at Knitty City on the Upper West Side. Love to patronize my local yarn stores. And then the multicolored, it's white and like, I feel like it's like funfetti colored speckles. This is from that same Facebook Marketplace haul. I got my Pearl Soho from the Tombow tee from, this is by Cheshire Yarn. One of my YouTube commenters said that they are local to England, so that's probably part of why I couldn't find them on Ravelry. And then I was like, oh well, if it's not on Ravelry, it's not real. So one of my goals for 2025 is to finish this. Dear God, when am I going to finish this? I have so many things planned. So many things planned. And winter is only so long, and I have to knit, 2 sweaters and a cardigan. My wrists hurt just thinking about it. Anyway, Celia pullover. Hopefully you'll see her finished on my Instagram. By the way, if you don't follow my Instagram, it is made by Fiona, the period and an underscore. That's where I post most of my projects, and I also just post a lot of the same reels that I post as shorts over here on YouTube. I love to yap online. So follow me over there so we can keep up with our projects there together as well. My last sweater of 2024, because I'm addicted to knitting sweaters. This is the caramel sweater by Petite Knit. I knitted up in this like army green sandness garn Sunday that I got off of Facebook. Of course, I got it from Facebook. And it was a sweater quantity, and so I had the yarn, and I wanted to knit something that in a pattern that called for sandness garn Sunday. And Petite Knit and sandness garn, I think they just like work together because she knits everything in sandness garn. So my friend Katie of Claws Out Yarn Co. lovingly convinced me / just pushed me in a direction that I was already going to go to buy mohair from her Chapel Roan collection. This is in the color Casual. And I love the way that it marls up. It kind of looks like sea glass. It's so pretty. I haven't blocked this sweater yet. I'm really looking forward to blocking it because I anticipate it getting even more slouchy and oversized, and I think that that will do wonders. I literally cast this off 10 minutes before my family left to go to my uncle's for Thanksgiving. It came out fabulous. I do love it. It's a really great staple piece. I need some more like solid color projects, and it was really nice to have something that was in just all stockinette to work up quickly and easily. I also knit 2 pairs of mittens for my boyfriend's parents. These I finished in 2025. These I finished like around Christmas time. I've been on a big mitten knitting kick. So these are just some other projects. Okay, I'm procrastinating. Let's talk about the dress. I knit the dress. God, it looks so bad like this. Here's a picture. I designed and knit this dress using yarn that I found on Facebook Marketplace, and I spent $10 on. I got 8 balls of Rowan Alaska for $10, and I had this vision to knit a naked dress with an open back with a high collar because I love a turtleneck, but there were no patterns online. And so I said, I'm just going to figure that out myself. And I did. And it took a really long time. It took like 3 months. I refused to post on social media about it because it's one of those things that I get so superstitious over. Like, oh my God, if I do this wrong, then, or if I just abandon this, if I give up, then, you know, no one's going to trust me or believe me or anything. I don't know. So I finished the dress. It is floor length. I put a slit in it. I'm going to put out a project vlog about this dress because I filmed little check-ins throughout the whole thing, and then I was doing a series on my Instagram and on my shorts here on YouTube about it, but ultimately I do want to do a full progress process vlog. I wore this to my birthday party, which is at the end of November. Actually, my birthday party was the first week of December, and then I moved, and I have been editing all of my YouTube videos on my iPad, like an iPad baby, with my pointer finger. And that is just like so not ergonomic. And then the app would crash because I'm using CapCut. And it just kind of like was a general disaster. So I decided that once I moved, I would buy myself a computer. And now, oh baby, we are in business. I'm definitely planning on putting out my process vlog for this dress, my true magnum opus. Because designing this was so math intensive, I do think I'm going to be able to math out a pattern. At the very least, I think I'm going to be able to math out a top for this and then just not do the skirt, make it like a little summer crop top. I also learned a bunch of new techniques, I steeked for the first time. My initial plan for this dress was to make it a like top down raglan style, and then I was gonna like do something in the front, and then I was gonna do like a racer back in the back, and then I couldn't decide what I wanted to do with the back, and then I really just didn't want to knit a back, so I made a backless, and that made the job of the turtleneck so much more important. Like it couldn't be loose and slouchy, and ultimately it couldn't even just be stretchy enough for me to get over my head. So I decided that I was going to steek the neckline, and I was gonna like double knit and put in button bands so I can do some snaps. And as one of my viewers very wisely commented, also means I don't have to mess up my hair and makeup when I'm putting the dress on. I don't have to pull it over my head. Part of the whole design of the dress is like the irony of wearing a sweater but being very naked in it. I wanted it to be very close to the same color as my skin. And it just kind of came out perfectly that this $10 yarn that I found was the perfect material to make a absolutely show-stopping dress out of. I'm so proud of this. I will literally never shut up about it. I have my Instagram up on my phone, and I show literally anybody that will talk to me pictures of this dress because I'm so, so proud of it. I really would love to release a pattern of this dress because imagining other people making and wearing this, like, that would be so incredible. I think that because of the way that I designed it, it will be very made to measure. So hopefully that will make it very, very size inclusive, especially because like of the way that, my bust is compared to my hips. And I know other people are shaped very differently. So I'm very interested to see how that will work out. But that's a problem for future me. I'm just really proud of this. I kind of can't believe that I made it, and I wore it for my birthday party and I danced all night, and I never felt insecure in it. I never felt like concerned about, it keeping me in. And she's beautiful. She really is. Now that I've finished this, I'm like I can do anything. I really can. So that's kind of where my goal of 2025 to write and release and get tested at least one pattern is. I'm really excited for what the year holds, and I really think that designing and making this dress proved a lot to me that I don't think that the Fiona that knit the Mauricio sweater in the beginning of the year thought that she was capable of. I am a really, really mathematical oriented person. I have a full on engineering degree. So the math of knitting is really what clicks for me. Figuring out how many stitches go into how many square inches, and how many stitches I need to add or decrease to get to where I need to be. That's really what the core of this dress was me sitting in my room alone doing calculus to figure out how quickly I wanted the slope of the the neckline and the bust to increase so that way it would cover me. I feel like this walkthrough of my projects really encapsulates how much I've grown and learned this year. It was not an easy year by any means. There were definitely some things larger than me that impacted my overall view of the year and the future, looking forward to 2025. But looking inside myself and what I have been able to accomplish really is incredible. I guess I'll just real quick show you. This is my super sparkly New Year's Eve dress. I'm just going to put a picture here of it. This is the top by Sewing by Solana modified to be a full-length dress because, again, now that I can do the math for this, I can do anything. And that's the energy that I'm really trying to take with me into 2025. It's a new year. It's the first year that I felt like really hard reset, like ready to hands-on tackle this year. And I'm so, so excited for everything that's to come and all the things that I'm going to accomplish and you're going to accomplish, and really find out more about myself, because this year has been a lot of learning, a lot of finding out, the only way out is through, and and getting through and getting to the other side and realizing how much better it could ever be. You know, it's better than I ever imagined. So on that note, thank you so much for watching and joining and subscribing to this channel. I started YouTube in like May, I think, or June, simply because my darling friend Addie of the Drop Stitch turned to me and was like, you should do YouTube. And I love doing that so much. I think that I've set myself up really well for exciting possibilities and making this more lucrative and self-sustaining. Also have been able to meet a lot of really incredible people. I've name dropped so many, like, just people who I've met on Instagram, who I've met at craft circles, who I have gone to for knitting advice, for, you know, colors, who've come to me with their design ideas and that I've been able to test knit for, that people have trusted me with their patterns, with their artwork. I just think I'm so much better for it. When I came out of college, I had the mindset of just only doing things to make money. And even like starting out social media and talking about my knitting had the same mindset of like, well, what's the point of doing it if you're not going to make money? I mean, I've found so many other reasons to do anything that aren't just money. I have a job and I make money from that job and it gets me through. And this is what really makes my heart happy. And I I just am so much better for it. So let me know if like if you sat through all this ramble. Let me know what you're working on, what your favorite thing you've made this year was. Do you have any goals for next year? Feel free to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, if that still exists, and Ravelry if I ever update it. Maybe that's a YouTube video in the future. But yeah, there's some really big, exciting things coming, and I'm excited that you'll all be here and come along with me. All right, bye.